November 18th, 2022. On the outskirts of Pyongyang, North Korea's capital, a highly secretive and heavily fortified military base stands on full alert. Armed soldiers guard every corner, while towering over the launch pad is the most powerful and terrifying nuclear-capable weapon in North Korea's history, the Hwasong-17 intercontinental ballistic missile, ICBM. This massive missile is capable of reaching the mainland United States. Within moments, it is scheduled for a critical test launch. Military generals wait in complete silence, holding their breath for the final command. Then, dressed in a black leather jacket, North Korea's supreme leader, Kim Jong Un, arrives at the launch site. But that day, the world's attention wasn't focused solely on the missile, or even on Kim Jong Un. Instead, the eyes of military officials, and later geopolitical analysts across the globe, were drawn to his right hand. Holding it tightly was a young girl, no more than 10 or 11 years old. She wore a white puffer jacket, bright red shoes, and her hair was tied back in a neat ponytail. Calm and remarkably confident, she walked beside her father directly in front of the nuclear missile. The moment stunned the world. In more than 70 years of North Korean history, nothing like this had ever happened. Members of the Kim family are traditionally raised in extreme secrecy, remaining hidden from public view until they are old enough to assume positions of power. So, why would the dictator of one of the world's most isolated and nuclear-armed nations suddenly bring his young daughter to such a highly sensitive military event? Who is this mysterious girl? Is she simply Kim Jong Un's beloved daughter, or is she being introduced as North Korea's future supreme leader? In a deeply conservative and male-dominated society, where women have historically been excluded from military leadership, and where superstition has even led some taxi drivers to refuse female passengers as their first fare of the day, could a woman truly inherit control of this nuclear state? Or is this entire appearance nothing more than a carefully orchestrated piece of propaganda designed by Kim Jong Un? In today's episode, we'll uncover the full story behind the mystery. As you probably know, North Korea is one of the most isolated and secretive countries in the world. What happens inside its borders remains a mystery to the outside world. And when it comes to the private lives of the Kim family, the state-controlled media reveals virtually nothing. In fact, until 2013, the world didn't even know that Kim Jong Un had a daughter. In 2012, Kim's wife, Ri Sol-ju, disappeared from public view for several months. Many analysts later believed that she had given birth to their daughter during that time. But the child's existence first became known to the world through an unlikely source, former American basketball star Dennis Rodman. After visiting Pyongyang in 2013, Rodman told The Guardian that he had held Kim Jong Un's young daughter in his arms and that her name was Kim Ju-ae. He also described Kim Jong Un as a good father and an awesome guy. However, North Korea's state media has never officially confirmed the girl's name. South Korea's National Intelligence Service, NIS, has also stopped short of verifying it. According to several North Korean defectors, her real name may actually be Unju or Ju-ae. According to Ri Il-kyu, a former North Korean diplomat who defected to South Korea, the girl's real name is Ju-ae. He also claimed that North Korean authorities ordered ordinary citizens who shared the name Ju-ae to change it, ensuring that no one else would carry the same name as the leader's daughter. Whatever her real name may be, the titles used by North Korea's state media reveal a far more significant political message. When she first appeared in public in 2022, state media referred to her simply as Kim Jong Un's beloved or precious daughter. But within just a few months, that title quietly changed. She was no longer described as merely the leader's cherished child. Instead, official reports began referring to her as the respected daughter, a subtle but highly symbolic shift that immediately caught the attention of North Korea watchers and political analysts around the world. In North Korea's political vocabulary, the word respected carries extraordinary weight. It is a title reserved only for the nation's most revered figures, especially Kim Jong Un and the highest-ranking members of the Kim family. Kim Jong Un himself was given the title Respected Comrade shortly after taking power. Then, in March 2024, North Korea's state media took things a step further. It described Kim Ju-ae, alongside her father, as a great person of guidance, a title traditionally associated with the country's supreme leadership. According to Chung Seong-chang, vice president of South Korea's Sejong Institute and a leading expert on North Korea, this shift in official language is no coincidence. He believes it is strong evidence that the regime is carefully building a cult of personality around Kim Ju-ae. By gradually introducing increasingly prestigious titles, the government appears to be shaping her public image, not simply as the leader's daughter, but as a potential future leader of North Korea. Now let's return to the original question. Why would an 11 or 12-year-old girl be standing beside a nuclear missile instead of living the carefree life of an ordinary child? According to analysts, the answer lies in Kim Jong Un's carefully calculated psychological and geopolitical strategy. Rachel Min-young Lee, a senior analyst at the Open Nuclear Network in Vienna, argues that Kim was sending two powerful messages through those images. First, he wanted to soften his image by presenting himself not only as a ruthless dictator, but also as a caring and devoted father. Second, and perhaps more importantly, he wanted to signal that North Korea's nuclear weapons are not merely tools of aggression, but a guarantee of security for future generations. And standing beside him, as the symbol of that future generation, was his daughter, Kim Ju-ae. From that point on, Kim Ju-ae began appearing regularly at North Korea's most important military events. In February 2023, she stood beside her father during the military parade marking the Day of the Shining Star, the birthday of Kim Jong-il. She also appeared at the Grand Military Parade celebrating North Korea's 75th anniversary later that year. On February 14, 2023, North Korea's Stamp Corporation even released official postage stamps featuring Kim Jong Un and Kim Ju-ae together, another symbolic step that fueled speculation about her future role. Perhaps the most striking moment came on September 2, 2025. During a massive military parade in Beijing marking the 80th anniversary of China's victory in World War II, Kim Jong Un attended alongside Chinese President Xi Jinping and Russian President Vladimir Putin. The event was widely viewed as a powerful display of growing strategic cooperation among the three countries. Away from the spotlight, Kim Ju-ae also accompanied her father to Beijing. It was her first known trip abroad, and for many analysts, her presence at such a high-profile international event spoke volumes about her growing political significance. Analyst Chang Xiangchang points to another crucial factor. He argues that Kim Jong-un's authority ultimately rests on his absolute control over North Korea's military. If Kim Ju-ae is truly being prepared as his successor, she must earn the confidence of the armed forces and establish herself as a credible future commander. Every public appearance at military events helps reinforce that image. A closer analysis of the footage reveals something even more remarkable. Whenever Kim Ju-ae sits beside her father at military parades, North Korea's highest-ranking generals are seen approaching her, bowing respectfully and quietly speaking into her ear. Such deference from the country's top military commanders toward a young girl is anything but ordinary. The symbolism doesn't end there. During military inspections, Kim Ju-ae is often dressed almost identically to her father, wearing the same long black leather coat and dark sunglasses. The resemblance appears deliberate. Many analysts believe Kim Jong-un is carefully crafting a powerful visual message. He wants the military, and the nation, to see his daughter as a reflection of himself. By placing her at the center of military ceremonies and surrounding her with the symbols of supreme authority, he is gradually familiarizing North Korea's elite with the idea of her future leadership. But this raises an even bigger question. Is Kim Ju-ae truly being prepared to become North Korea's next supreme leader? So what is the biggest obstacle standing between Kim Ju-ae and the country's highest office? For many experts, the answer is simple: her gender. North Korea remains one of the world's most conservative and deeply patriarchal societies. According to Ri Hon-woo, a former North Korean diplomat who defected to South Korea in 2019, the idea of a woman ruling North Korea is considered highly unlikely. He explains that women face discrimination at virtually every level of North Korean society. Female military commanders, and especially women in the highest ranks of the armed forces, are exceptionally rare. Ri Hon-woo also described a striking example of the country's deeply rooted gender biases. According to him, many taxi drivers in Pyongyang refuse to take a woman as their first passenger of the day, believing it will bring bad luck for the rest of their shift. If they have no choice but to do so, some drivers reportedly perform a ritual after dropping the passenger off, walking behind the taxi and spitting 3 times in an attempt to ward off misfortune. In a society shaped by traditions and beliefs like these, the prospect of a woman one day leading a nuclear-armed nation remains one of the most controversial questions surrounding Kim Ju-ae's future. Another theory has fueled even more speculation. At one point, South Korea's intelligence agency suggested that Kim Jong-un may have an older son, reportedly born in 2010. Some analysts believe that if such a son exists, Kim is deliberately keeping him out of the public eye, possibly providing him with a private education or specialized training while protecting him from international attention. Under this theory, Kim Ju-ae's highly public appearances could serve as a carefully planned distraction, shifting the world's focus away from the person who might actually be the intended successor. However, João Michelo, a Swiss friend from Kim Jong Un's youth, has disputed that claim. He has said that Kim never mentioned having a son, speaking only about his daughter. Under North Korea's political tradition, any future ruler is expected to belong to the Paektu bloodline, the legendary lineage of the Kim family. Mount Paektu, regarded as a sacred mountain in North Korean ideology, symbolizes the revolutionary legacy of the regime, and only the direct descendants of the country's founder, Kim Il-sung, are considered part of this bloodline. Although Kim Ju-ae undeniably belongs to the Paektu bloodline, Ri Hyun-woo argues that North Korea's deeply patriarchal system could still make it difficult for the military elite to accept a woman as the legitimate heir to that legacy. However, many experts now challenge the argument that North Korea's patriarchal culture alone would prevent Kim Ju-ae from becoming the country's future leader. They argue that North Korean society is no longer the same as it was decades ago. Over the past several decades, the country has experienced a quiet but profound transformation in the social and economic role of women. That transformation began during the devastating famine of the 1990s, a period known in North Korea as the Arduous March. Following the collapse of the Soviet Union, North Korea's economy fell into crisis. The state-run rationing system broke down, and millions of people were pushed into extreme hardship as widespread famine swept across the country. Even during this catastrophe, North Korean men were still required to report to their state-assigned jobs, even though many received neither wages nor food rations. Failing to show up for work could result in severe punishment, including imprisonment for alleged disloyalty to the state. As families struggled to survive, it was North Korean women who stepped in to keep them alive. They established the country's first jangmadang, informal black markets, where they sold food, clothing, and everyday necessities, often smuggled in from neighboring China. Over time, these markets expanded dramatically, and women became the driving force behind North Korea's growing, unofficial economy. What began as a desperate fight for survival eventually transformed the economic and social influence of women across the country. According to Song Hyun-jin, a researcher who has interviewed more than 120 female North Korean defectors, the role of women inside North Korea has changed dramatically. He explains that today, it is no longer unusual to see women managing factories or holding positions within the ruling party. In recent years, North Korean state television has even shown men wearing aprons and doing household chores, something that would have been almost unimaginable in the past. These changes suggest that North Korean society has been quietly evolving, but Song Hyun-jin's most important argument goes even further. He believes that North Korea should not be viewed through the lens of a modern democracy. Instead, it should be understood through the mindset of the Joseon dynasty, the medieval Korean kingdom that ruled the peninsula for centuries. In that tradition, the ruling family was regarded as sacred and divinely ordained. Song argues that many North Koreans view the Kim family in much the same way today, not simply as political leaders, but as a hereditary dynasty whose authority is considered almost unquestionable. Under that system, bloodline can matter far more than gender. If the people and the ruling elite believe that legitimacy comes from the Kim family's sacred lineage, then Kim Ju-ae's status as a direct descendant could ultimately outweigh the fact that she is a woman. A growing number of analysts are asking the same question. Why is Kim Jong Un introducing his daughter to the public at such a young age? Why begin the succession process now? The answer may lie in his own experience. In 2008, Kim Jong Un's father, Kim Jong-il, suffered a severe brain stroke. Until then, he had never publicly identified any of his sons as his successor. Faced with a sudden health crisis, the regime rushed to formalize the transition. At a Workers' Party conference in 2010, the then 26-year-old Kim Jong-un was officially introduced as the heir apparent. When Kim Jong-il died in December 2011, Kim Jong-un inherited power at just 27 years old, becoming one of the world's youngest national leaders. But he had little political or military experience and almost no time to prepare for the enormous responsibility of ruling North Korea. To secure his authority, he resorted to ruthless measures. In 2013, he ordered the execution of his own uncle, Jang Song-thaek, once one of the regime's most powerful figures, eliminating a potential rival and sending a clear message to anyone who might challenge his rule. Many analysts believe that this personal experience has shaped Kim Jong-un's long-term strategy. Having been thrust into power with little preparation, he appears determined to ensure that his own child will not face the same uncertainty. By introducing Kim Ju-ae at an early age, exposing her to the country's military leadership, and making her a familiar face to both the political elite and the public, he may be carefully laying the foundation for a smooth and uncontested transfer of power in the future. Meanwhile, speculation continues to grow over Kim Jong Un's own health. Because of his obesity, heavy smoking, and frequent alcohol consumption, intelligence analysts have long believed that his physical condition may be more fragile than the regime publicly admits. That has led many experts to believe that Kim is trying to secure the future of his dynasty well before any potential health crisis emerges. The speculation reached a new level in February 2026, when South Korea's National Intelligence Service, NIS, reportedly delivered a closed-door briefing containing a bombshell assessment. According to the NIS, Kim Joo-ae had successfully completed her succession training and had been formally designated as North Korea's future supreme leader. The agency cited several pieces of evidence to support its conclusion. On New Year's Day, Kim Joo-ae accompanied her parents to Kumsusan Palace of the Sun in Pyongyang to pay tribute to the country's former leaders. This was no ordinary visit. The Kumsusan Palace of the Sun is North Korea's most sacred political shrine, where the embalmed bodies of Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il are preserved. For the Kim dynasty, it is the ultimate symbol of legitimacy and hereditary rule. Analysts believe that Kim Joo-ae's prominent appearance at such a symbolic location was another powerful signal that she is being presented as the fourth-generation heir of the Kim dynasty. The NIS also reported that Kim Jong-un has increasingly begun seeking his daughter's input on important state policies, suggesting that her role is evolving beyond ceremonial appearances and into the realm of governance. Whether these reports ultimately prove accurate remains uncertain. But one thing is clear, Kim Joo-ae is no longer viewed as just the leader's daughter. She has become the central figure in one of the most closely watched succession stories in modern geopolitics. When Kim Jong-un took power at the age of 27, many in the West believed that the young leader, educated in Switzerland, might open North Korea to the outside world and steer the country toward reform. But those expectations quickly collapsed. Instead of easing tensions, Kim dramatically accelerated North Korea's nuclear weapons program, expanded its missile capabilities, and tightened his grip on power even more than his father and grandfather. Analyst Chung Seong-chang argues that there is little reason to believe Kim Joo-ae would govern any differently if she eventually inherits power. According to him, her being a woman should not be mistaken for a sign of political moderation. The assumption that a female leader would automatically adopt softer policies or seek closer ties with the West is, in his view, a dangerous misconception. Kim Joo-ae is growing up inside one of the world's most isolated and privileged ruling families, a world far removed from the daily hardships faced by ordinary North Koreans. She has been raised within the same political system, surrounded by the same ideology, and shaped by the same dynasty that has ruled the country for generations. For more than 75 years, North Korea has remained under the control of a single family. And today, the future of more than 25 million people may ultimately rest in the hands of a 13-year-old girl. 5 or 10 years from now, when Kim Jong-un eventually passes the baton of power, will North Korea's military establishment willingly accept a woman as its supreme commander? Or will the country descend into a bitter and bloody power struggle behind closed doors? Only time will reveal where the future of the world's most secretive nation is truly headed. But one thing seems certain. The Kim dynasty is unlikely to surrender the keys to its nuclear empire without a fight. Whether the next ruler is Kim Joo-ae or someone the world has yet to see, the regime's ultimate goal appears unchanged: to ensure that power remains firmly within the Kim bloodline for generations to come.